Is Genesis history? And something about evolution, but, well, the first bit, I will say. I mean, that load of bunk hasn't been a viable explanation for the beginning/existence of the everything for friggin' forever at this point, and anyone who thinks that it is a literal account of how the everything came to be, well, they should not be trusted near anything that could potentially hurt themselves or others.
So, from your perspective as a marine biologist and...
His perspective as a marine biologist, I'm more concerned about whoever's perspective as an amateur videographer. Why the hell are you using cinema aspect ratios for a 2-minute fucking YouTube video? And a really, really stupid one at that. I mean, evolution is impossible. Only for idiots to understand. Other than that, it is very much extremely possible. Because, you know, it happens. Saying otherwise is just someone being an ignorant jackass.
I know that you've studied the whole area of genetics a lot.
Yes.
Oh, has he? Well, that's interesting, because as a general rule, even people who are fully involved with a particular branch of science have studied some tiny fraction of the whole area a lot, and otherwise will have maybe a broad understanding of the rest, but would not claim to be experts on it all, because science is vast and human time and attention is so very small. That's why tons and tons and tons of individuals all work together on separate parts to bring our understanding up to snuff. But anyone who claims or otherwise allows other people to claim for them they are some kind of ultimate authority are probably full of shit.
When people talk about evolution, what is it?
How do you define evolution?
I don't know, properly, hopefully. I mean, that's such a common response from the creaty lads, of who Bobber here numbers in their ranks. They tend to have great difficulty defining it accurately, and instead define it in a way, you know, that isn't evolution as we understand it. So they can either say that their straw man doesn't real, or that it totally agrees with book all along. But never could they ever actually define it as the thing that we absolutely know happens. I mean, that would involve being honest and accurate, and we can't have that now, can we?
The word means change over time.
I mean, as a word on its own, I guess, but that's not what we mean when we talk about the science. It is, in fact, a lot more complicated than that. And to pretend that that kind of oversimplified non-definition is anything but that is, well, not exactly getting me excited for the first time a creationist did an actual science for once, because it's not happening.
But I believe in change over time.
No shit, of course you do. Literally everything changes over time. It's the one constant characteristic of the everything ever. To the point where to say that doesn't really mean anything. That's like saying you believe in air. Okay, doesn't mean you have any worthwhile opinions on climate change or the existence of the fucking space balls.
But I'm not an evolutionist, so how does one figure this out, really?
Well, aside from the fact that evolutionist isn't really a thing, and what you mean is people who understand what evolution is, how it works, and understand that it is simply a fact supported by ungodly amounts of evidence, aka normal people, it's quite simple, really. Whatever your qualifications are, they either have nothing to do with the evolutionary aspects of biology, so you could just ignore them and pretend that they aren't there, or more likely, considering how important evolution is to so many aspects of biology, your qualification isn't worth the paper that it's written on. Not because it's necessarily a bad qualification, I have no idea. But if you aren't actually going to apply the things that you should have learned, then what was the fucking point in learning them? Oh right, lying for God. I always forget that part.
Evolution is a belief.
No. Evolution is categorically a fact, like gravity, or like the shape of the planet, or like that humans are the worst things ever. Evolution is only a belief in so much as some people have an incorrect belief that evolution isn't the real, because my book said so usually. Well, really, my book didn't bring it up, but the idea that maybe the people who wrote it just didn't know about it shall never cross my mind. Wouldn't it be fun to go back in time though and give those people the scientific facts? On the one hand, it would make their book sound a lot more plausible. On the other hand, at least they would stop being wrong all the frigging time about everything ever.
That enough change over time, over enough time, can lead to the common ancestry of all species on Earth.
It's also not a belief in so much as it's a conclusion. After examining all the things and doing all the testy boys, everything that we observed and studied led us to the ultimate conclusion that evolution is a thing. No one just made up that wouldn't it be nice if change over time leads to humans so we could have a common ancestor. Because I think that sounds cool and makes me feel all the happy fifis. No, that's how religions tend to work, which is a guess that will inevitably be false because it's a guess with little to nothing backing it up. Evolution is not such a guess because it's not a guess. In the same way that having a video of a guy shooting someone with a gun that is registered to them and he was seen by like 100 witnesses and he's still covered head to toe in their blood and ballistics showed the bullet came from that gun that he's still fucking holding and thinking that he might have done it is a goddamn guess.
All right.
So that's the part I reject. Of course species change. I mean, look at these sharks here.
Of course species change, okay? Great, step one of evolution. So you agree with the changing thing. The difference is, for some reason you decided there's some sort of hard lock on where that change stops, and basically we haven't seen a mechanism for that. So why would we think that? But the thing is, neither of you. So basically, you're rejecting that evolution, as it properly is, happens if it happens too much. But I mean, dogs can make that seem a little bit ludicrous on their own. I mean, if we keep breeding these two types of dog into smaller and smaller and bigger directions, respectively, to the point where they are just completely unrecognizable as the same type of animal anymore, that they are so different from each other, to call them the same species just no longer makes any sense. How would that not be speciation? Unless you are saying, no, that can't happen. They will always be similar enough, even though you can literally change anything on a dog. So where is that dog lock? How does it work? And where's your Nobel Prize for discovering it? Oh, that's right. You didn't, because it doesn't, because creationism is fucking bullshit.
We have several different species of sharks.
Right, and do you know how we have several different species of shark? Is it because God likes teethy lads and wanted to share them with the humans? Because he's so into that, but then forgot those useless humans are crap at doing it underwater, so they wouldn't be able to see them for thousands and thousands of years. Or that sharks are successful hunters, so spread out and adapted to various environments because, you know, that's what fucking happened.
When God created, he put into those organisms the ability to change, to adapt, to respond dynamically to the environment.
Okay, there's so much to that. First off, he put it in there, did he? I mean, not to be an atheist fuckhead, but citation needed, buddy. You care to prove that he did that? You want to show how he achieved such a feat? Can explain it in a way that's the only possible explanation for such a thing? And secondly, why not just accept that God made it so that animals can evolve into whatever? Why not have it that they can evolve into basically fucking anything over time? I mean, if God can put in your pretend, no, I totally am a science guy thing, and instead just say, no, God did evolution, end of story. I mean, you wouldn't even need to bother proving that either, but at least you would line up with what the actual science says, and it wouldn't change anything. Well, except for one thing, and that's why you don't want to hear it. That humans could evolve from something else and that they could evolve into something else. And then suddenly they aren't so special anymore, apparently. But I have some news for you. Humans are special. I mean, you don't get to be the worst thing ever and something else be the worst thing ever too. No, it's just you guys. Well done. You did it.
But they're still sharks.
Yes, they are. What exactly do you expect sharks to be other than sharks? I don't know if you know this, Mr. Definitely Smart Science Man, but speciation takes a while, and humans have only been aware that anything was going on for like a few hundred years. So they aren't going to suddenly be anything else. And of course, suddenly is something that doesn't happen either in evolution. And the only people who expect that are people who think God done it is a suitable answer for things like how animals adapt. Oh, right, so like you.
And when we look at the fossil record, they're still sharks.
Okay, only if you don't go back very far, because as much as sharks are one of the most stable creatures due to them being pretty high on the food chain for a really long ass time, there's still ancestors for sharks that are very much not sharks. But even if we didn't have them, evolution still predicts for species that don't change or change very little, because evolution, unlike your simplistic definition for morons, isn't strictly change. It's merely, alongside natural selection, about fit, about being able to survive and procreate as best as possible. If not changing achieves that best, guess what? It won't do it.
Yeah, people have heard the phrase the missing link.
Oh, God, I hate the missing link thing so much because it's such a misnomer. The idea that we are going to have a record of every possible stage between one species and another for anything is ridiculous. And yet anyone who wants to refute evolution with their big, smart, tiny brains will just say, well, where's the missing link between X and X? As if they're making a point and not demonstrating their staggering ignorance.
And they usually think of between man and monkeys. No, there's missing links between almost every major group of animal and almost every other major group of animal and plant, even bacteria, throughout the entire fossil record.
Well, let's just ignore that painfully simplistic image, one so simplistic it's almost like it's a lie, as if there aren't significantly more examples and creatures to go on it. The fact that we can see that there is a space that goes between one thing and another, the fact that some links are, as the phrase goes, missing, demonstrates that they are in fact linked, that they go in a series. You wouldn't know there should be something there if you didn't know that there should be something there. Where the fuck did you get your PhD exactly? I can only assume you found it at the bottom of a fucking garbage can.
Which indicates very strongly that these are actually different creations.
No, it frickin' doesn't. You just have no idea what you're talking about. Either that, or you do, and you're simply lying in order to convince those who agree with you about book to think that they are even more right than they were before. But a creationist lying? I don't think that's ever happened before. You know, aside from all the constantly that they do it. But to be fair, they are also constantly shown to be fucking morons. So evidence for either conclusion exists. I'll give them that at least.
So we don't get one kind becoming another kind?
No.
Ew, get out with your meaningless kind bullshit. That doesn't even have a strong definition, only constant goalpost shifting, where nothing was ever not a dog kind. I mean, nothing was ever not canid kind. Eventually it will go all the way to, well, nothing was ever not mammal kind. Therefore, God, am I right, fellow smart guys is?
Evolutionary theory requires that small, random changes can explain everything we see. But it can't.
Random? What the fuck are you talking about? See, now I know you don't know what the hell evolution is. The changes in evolution via natural selection, you know, the way it happened in nature, are anything but random. Because there's a word in there, I don't know if you know this, but selection is not even remotely the same thing as random. In fact, selection is anything but random. So while any changes that happen at all can certainly be random, the ones that stick around simply are not. And the fact that you don't seem to know that means, again, you're either an idiot or a liar. Or, of course, the creationist special, both. Idiot liars for the lot of you, I guess.
And why can't it?
Because life...
That's amazing. What an unbelievably obvious cut. I do wonder what it is that they fucked up there. Probably something big and something that they couldn't get rid of cleanly. I mean, to be fair, it's one of the reasons I like being a cartoon guy. Do you know how many retakes I would have to do if I was a live action sick? Way more than 0, and that is just far too many.
is so complex that small changes can't explain it. Just like...
Yeah, like if you had a few days and only a handful of subjects, but millions or even billions of individuals over hundreds of thousands to millions of years, if every newborn has one tiny change, that is billions, if not more changes over the existence of that species. This is only a problem if you think that the world is like 5 minutes old, and a creationist is one thing, but if you're a young earther too, then you are truly lost to science.
You can't take a computer operating system and look at it and say, oh yeah, this is built up one digit at a time over any length of time. No, it took an intelligent person to sit down and put it together.
If you think that any operating system that people actually use and isn't based on countless other people's work in the first place was made by one person, you're an idiot. And if you think that they don't have small changes over time, then you've clearly never heard of updates. I mean, what a choice to disprove evolution when so many operating systems are extremely different from release to end of life because of a bunch of small changes. Goddamn, is this like the showcase for how many things you don't know dick all about? Christ almighty.
Well, I can guarantee you, as one who was in that world, that if anyone in the area of computer science were to say, if we just randomly change some things in this operating system, it'll get better. I mean, no one would agree with that.
No.
Hence, naturally, you might select for those changes. Also, the idea that randomly changing things doesn't often lead to unexpected benefits screams to me of people who haven't done a lick of programming. Because if you haven't ever uttered the phrase, I don't know what I did, but it's fixed now, then you aren't a fucking programmer.
We're not going to get the shark to evolve into a bird.
Why the fuck would you expect it to? Oh, right, creationist doesn't know what evolution is. Why do I keep forgetting that? No, you aren't, because it wouldn't be a bird. It would never be a bird, much like things that evolved into things that look very similar to crabs still aren't actually crabs. Although, if God did it though, you would think they would be. But no.
That the number of changes and the types of changes are not something that you can do one change at a time.
Aside from the fact that you could never do it because it literally wouldn't be a bird, it would only be like a bird, just saying nuh-uh is not science. And it never will be. Just because you don't like science doesn't mean you get to deny that facts exist. And it's a bit like that I don't deny God because I don't like him. I don't deny him because he doesn't fucking real.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the